Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk about linear regression in Power BI. So we will start by understanding what linear regression really means, then break down the basic formula of y is equal to mx plus c, and finally I will show you how to actually perform linear regression inside Power BI using a DAX function called LINESTX. So let's jump right in. All right. First thing first, what is linear regression? It's basically a way to find the relationship between two or more variables. For example, imagine you have a data on advertising spend and sales revenue. Linear regression helps you figure out how much your sales increase when you spend a certain amount more on ads. So in simple terms, it tries to draw a straight line through your data that best represents the overall trend. And that line is something we call the line of best fit. So another simple formula of linear regression is y is equal to mx plus c. We have y variable here that is just a dependent variable, the thing that we are trying to predict, let's say sales, and then we have the m variable here that is just the slope of the line, and I will jump it after telling about x. So we have x is the independent variable, the thing that influence y, let's say ad spend. So we have y, that is something we are trying to predict, and we have x that is influencing y, right? And then we have m. M is basically the slope of a line. It tells you how much y change when x increased by, let's say, 1 unit. And finally, we have intercept. That's where the line crosses the y-axis, basically the value of y when x is 0. So the goal of regression is to find the m and C values that best fit your data. So for example, in my case, I have this simple data set that I downloaded from Kaggle. This data set is about students' number of hours that he studied and the scores he get from the like exams or whatever you can say. So here my goal, this is basically, the actual data here. And let's say I want to predict data in this way. So let's say if I add hours of, let's say 12, then I want to see by adding 12 hours or by studying for 12 hours, how much a student can get marks based on the existing data's pattern. So this is what we have, and in your use case, it could be something like sales, it could be something like profit, or cost, etc. So we can have number of multiple variables. I will show you how to do that as well. So let's jump into creating the linear regression function using DAX. So I will create a new table here because the function that we'll be using would return the table. So that's why we need to create a new table, and I will call something like linear regression. And here, as I told you earlier, we will use LINESTX function, the built-in function in DAX to perform linear regression. And here we will firstly add the student score table here, and then we will add the Y column. That is what we are trying to predict. So in my case, I'm trying to predict the number of score, or simply the score that a student can obtain. So I will just type score here, right? And let me just pick this one. And then I would need to add the x value, the independent variable, the thing that influences y. So we have number of hours that is actually influencing scores. So that is what I will refer here. Okay, so as I told you, we can have more than one variable. So let's say in your data set, you have five variable that's being influenced by more than one x variables. So let's say r's or whatever variables you can say. You just type comma and all the add all the other variables that are influencing that, right? So let me just close this one since I have only x variable. So let me show you the data, the tables where I got. So we got multiple values here, and basically all these values are important, for deeply understanding and making prediction using linear regression. But for the simplicity, we just need slope and the intercept. As I showed you, we have this simple linear regression equation. Here we need slope and we need intercept. And this is what the line STS function has provided based on the data we have. Like it actually tried to look at our data and all the pattern, and it actually calculated the slope and intercept for us. And this is something that we'll be using to predict score based on the number of hours in our data set. So now that we got M and C, we just need to plug X and it will predict a Y for us. So that is something that we will try now. So let me create a new measure here, and I will say, let's say predict course, and I will just, let's say, create a variable and I can say something like slope, and here I will select the column of slope. So I will just type linear regression and I will simply select the slope column here, and it will actually provide me a slope column. Like if I just, do return to show you the data that I get, it's just the slope column that it's getting from from this table. Like we have the slope here of uh, 9.77, and if I just add the number here, we would also get the line here as well, 9.77. Yeah, so 9.78 by rounding it off. So let me also get the intercept here because that is something that we also need. I will say intercept and I will simply add select columns. I will add the name of the table and then the column that I want to select. I want to select the intercept column. Okay. So now that I've got slope and the intercept, and let me do what I'll just, a bit add the equation here so we can also visually see how the things are going on. So let me add it here and let me go back to the measure. So we got M, we got C, and now we just need to plug X and it will predict Y for us. I will create a new variable and I will say simply predict score, and here I will just slope by the number of hours. So, for example, I just type number of hours, and here I would then just need to add the intercept, and finally I can return the predict score variable. And here, by the way, the number of hours, it's just the sum of the hours that I previously calculated. And now if I just add that, and it's giving me a score of 1.23 based on the total number of hours we have in the data set. So that's what it actually added. So let's say if a student study for 125 hours, they would get around 1.23 score. And in the same way, we can just hardcode to see some of the values. So for example, if I say that if a student studies for, let's say, 5 hours, then let's say how much score he can obtain based on the model that we have developed. So if a student, let's say, studies for 5 hours, then he can obtain a 51.36 score. And this is something, as you then can see, closely related in our data set. We have five number of hours, and we have around 50 or 51 score that is actually available in our data set. So it's closely matching. And now we can just predict that. So in our data set, I think we have a maximum number of hours of 9 or 10, but we can go beyond that to predict the score based on the hours. So let's say if a student study for 12 hours, then we can closely see how much score he can obtain. So he can obtain like 119 score. And let me create a what if parameter that will be helpful for, for changing the value. So I will say, let's say number of hours, and I will convert that into a decimal. Let's keep it 20, increment by 1. And let me create that. And here, since I've created this slicer and the variable, and let me just go back to predict score. And here, instead of adding the hardcode value, I will just add the measure that I got from a vertex parameter. So I've added number of hours parameter, and let's say, let me just, remove these one. And for example, if a student studies for 9 hours, then he can obtain 90 marks. And if a student studies for 17 number of hours, he can obtain 168. And let's say if a student does not study, then he can also obtain like 2.48 score. That's good as well, right? So yeah, that's it. That's how you can predict um uh, predict using linear regression based on the x and y axis. It's pretty cool. You don't need to be uh, good at knowing technical things and all the statistics. You just need to line escape function and add your x and y variables, and DAX will do all the magic for you. So that's it for this video. If you find it helpful, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment if you have any question. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.